Hi everyone. This is the first in a series of video presentations we plan on doing for a kind of a review of the world's religions. This is for a class that we're doing, and it's the outline that we're following is that sort of established by Houston Smith in his World Religion text, which is kind of a classic for the field. And I thought before we get started in our study of the specific religions, we'd ask the question first of all, like, what is religion? And see what we can come up with for that. Religion is a pretty difficult term to give a clear definition for. In some sense, we all think we know what religion is, or we have some idea about what religion is. But if we try to give it expression or try to pin it down to a particular meaning, we find it's pretty difficult. And the more we think about it, it's probably because it becomes apparent to us that religion really means different things to different people. The difficulty doesn't mean we can't say anything, though. So this presentation is an attempt to come up with some general comments about religion. We could start, for instance, just by looking at the word itself, religion. If we looked it up in a dictionary, we would see that this word is derived from a Latin term, religare, and that term, in Latin, you could say first of all, it has the key word is legare, which just means to bind or to tie something, and then you add the re, the prefix, religare, and it just means to bind or to tie again. I mean, so to bind something fast so that it doesn't slip away. So that doesn't tell us a lot, but it does give us this sense that religion is something that people are tied to or connected with, and that religion has a lot to do with commitment and to a teaching or of some sort. One definition that I've seen that brings together a lot of the elements that we feel are involved in religion is as follows. This definition is, in my view, a little longer or complicated than you would like for a definition. You would like a definition to say what something is concisely, but I wouldn't say that this definition does it. Nonetheless, it states that religion is an institution with a recognized body of communicants who gather together regularly for worship and accept a set of doctrines offering some means of relating the individual to what is taken to be the ultimate nature of reality. If we take this definition and highlight some of the key terms in it, we can develop some of the ideas a little bit further. To start with, it uses the term institution, and religion is an institution, which already tells us a lot about the religions, especially the religions that we're going to be studying. You could say they're all have been institutionalized, and there's no way to avoid that. If you have a religious teaching or religious figure that people are touched by and want to preserve, you have to put it into a form that can persist through time. And one of the ways you do that is to build up an institution uh, from it. That will allow it to persist, but at the same time, when a religion becomes institutionalized, it probably takes some of the life out of it. And you say there's the inspiration at the beginning of any religion has a lot of life involved in it. And once the inspiration or the inspirational figure is no longer there, you try and adopt a form to keep it going, but the form can't have the same power that the the actual inspiration had in the beginning. So that's one feature, especially of all the religions that we're going to be taking a look at. The second highlighted phrase is body of communicants. So I think every religion that we're going to look at that's recognized as a kind of an official religion has to have a group of people who follow it. So a group of followers or a community. And that's part of what a religion is. A religion consists of the teaching. It also consists of all those who buy into the system or follow it. The third term I've left kind of unclarified, but let's say for the why do people come together and in these on a regular basis and to acknowledge their religion or to practice it in some way. Say a lot of times it's said for the purpose of worship. And for me, I mean, this has always been a question. What does it mean, or why worship? Why does the divinity need our worship? Why are we called to worship? There's answers to that, and I think they'll appear as we go through our coursework or in this class. So I'm going to leave that to be developed later. All the religions seem to have a set of doctrines as at the core. What the religious beliefs are. You say so. There's a teaching of some kind, and the followers of the religion accept that teaching as valid. I think at the end it's kind of interesting that there's this idea that the religion offers a way of connecting individuals with, this is a pretty academic phrase, ultimate nature of reality, when in most cases we would say that the aim of religion is to have a relationship with God or the gods or some higher realm, however one wants to conceive of it. So a religion kind of lays out a way in which individuals can have that relationship with the higher that they feel called to. So the definition we just looked at gives us some ideas about what religion is and its different aspects. In Houston Smith in our text, later in our text, at one place lists what he calls 6 features that can ordinarily be found in a religion. And those 6 features are authority, ritual, explanations, tradition, grace, and mystery. So we could take a look at those as well, these features that are usually present if we're looking at a religion. Well, the first one's authority. So there's always the idea that the religion comes from a higher source. that it's not just a human invention, that something like divine revelation is at the basis of it. So there's always some higher authority behind what the religion teaches. Secondly, you could say that all the religions have their rituals, and you could just say rituals are symbolic ceremonies that can become fixed or can be repeated again and again. So these rituals have significance for the people who perform them, and it's part of their religious practice. So that seems to also be a feature of all religions. The third idea on this list is explanations. And the idea here is that a religious teaching answers questions for the people who follow that religion, answers some of their most important questions about life and reality, and what, where meaning comes from or is based on in their life or their existence. So that is a big feature, I think, of religion, is that it answers questions that otherwise people wouldn't have answers to, or would be despair that there wasn't an answer to those kinds of questions. So religions provide people with explanations of things about life that are hard to explain. The fourth feature also is a part of all the religious teachings that we're going to take a look at, the religions, and that's tradition. You could say tradition, and this is institutionalized religion, are part of the institutions, or that things end up being established certain ways and so forth, and traditions are built up over time. So in a way, tradition becomes another kind of authority, and you can say that's the way it's always been done or whatever. And you might think that's not a good justification, but you can say that the way things have always been done is time tested. So whatever the tradition is, that it's worked for people in the past, therefore people continue to do things that way. Doesn't mean that nothing ever should change, but there is usually some value in the establishment of tradition. I always like this, for those of you who know the story of Fiddler on the Roof, or the musical. The opening song is called Tradition, and in that it's kind of amusing, but at the end, Tevye, the main character, is telling the audience, of all the things that the Jews do in their traditions and so forth. And if somebody were to ask him, why do you do these things? And he would say, I don't know. But because it's tradition, it's the way things have always been done. And the telling line is the last one. And because of our traditions, we know who we are and what God expects of us. So our traditions help us come up with some form of personal identity, and at least in our own understanding, help us understand what we think God expects of us. The last two features, first one is grace, and we use the word grace in a lot of different ways, but in some sense, grace represents God's love for human beings. And it's almost like a force in nature that sort of God put there that will help people find their way if they can connect with it, or if they can open themselves to this force. So grace is kind of like a help that's there for people when they open themselves up to help them find their way. The last element is mystery, and this definitely is a part of most of the religions that we look at. So there's always something beyond the realm of rational explanation, which means that something that can't really be explained, in a scientific or rational point of view, that there's something supernatural, something beyond the natural world involved in what the religious teaching is. So this is our last slide, and here I just wanted to point out where this list of 6 features comes from. You say Houston Smith formulates this list during his introduction to the chapter on Buddhism. And so he talks about all these different features of religion, and then he concludes by saying that none of them apply to Buddhism. So we'll talk more about that when we get to the talking about Buddhism, but it just indicates the variety of different religions that we're going to take a look at. Some of them fit within the parameters of religion pretty neatly. Others, we say, it's not so clear in what respects they're really a religion. So you could say that's the case probably with Buddhism, also the case with maybe teachings like Confucianism and even Taoism as well. But nonetheless, I mean, the list that we've looked at and the definitions that we've looked at give us, I think it's a useful list for developing our understanding of what a religion is.